and I noticed this in front of the hive. I'm going to see if you can guess what it is. I know what it is. I mean, it just snowed, finished snowing last night, so this is all new stuff this morning. Do you know what that is? I bet you can guess. I'm going to give you a clue. Those of you that are good trackers will know exactly what this is. And let's walk all the way over here and look at this. So you might say that perhaps this is bees making this, but it's not. No. Well, now I'm inside where it's warm in my ham radio shack, much warmer in here. Couldn't stay out there below zero. I think it was 1 below and snowy. And if you're anywhere probably in the midsection, even in the south in the US, you're noticing the same problem I'm having. Too cold outside to be out there. Hi, I'm David Burns, EAS Certified Master Beekeeper. Good to be with you for another video. Today, I want to talk about, first, what are those funny markings in the snow around my hives? I want to talk and kind of show you that. I'll go back out there and show you what I'm looking at and see if you can guess what's causing it. Kind of a mystery, huh? And then I want to talk about how you can avoid the mishaps of beekeeping. This time of the year, I'm getting so many emails, so many phone calls from people around the US that are really worried about their bees this winter since it's so cold outside, this cold blast, this snow, this ice. Everybody is freaking out about their bees and asking what they can do. And so I thought I'd just go ahead and tell you, I want to answer that not so much as to what you can do, because I've answered that many times before about getting your bees ready for winter. But I want to answer, why are people asking those kind of questions? And I think it's because a lot of people maybe don't have a totally good grip on understanding beekeeping ahead of time. So I'll answer that. We'll talk about how to avoid the mishaps of beekeeping. And one big mishap is just not having your bees ready for winter, getting hit with cold winters, and then worrying about your bees. Are they going to be okay? But before we get into all of that, let's head out there and let me show you something that's going on in front of my hives. So you might say that perhaps this is bees making this, but it's not. It's birds that are eating bees that are at the end of their life and fly out and die. It's not an uncommon thing to see in the wintertime. We suspect these bees know they're at the end of their lives and they just fly out and die. And you can see some of them out here, like right here. So the birds are coming and eating up these dead bees that are just out here. Interesting, huh? Yeah, so you'll see bees do that in the wintertime. I don't really see any bees not coming out much today, not yet anyway, at this cold temperature. I see some right at the entrance here. Not coming out though. Back in here where it's warm again. Wow. I want to talk about the mishaps of beekeeping, how to avoid those. There's a lot of things about beekeeping that is kind of made to sound easy and made to look easy. And I admit that I probably make beekeeping look very easy on my videos. And it's because I'm experienced. I've done it for a long time. And so for me, it's comfortable. I enjoy doing it. And I'm not frustrated. I'm not worried. I'm not freaking out. because I have a lot of experience under my belt. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying that I don't want to mislead you as a new beginner, if you are new, to think, why isn't it so easy for me? It seems to be easy for him. Well, it wasn't easy for me at all when I first started. I was freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to be doing now that it's so cold outside? What mistakes? In fact, when I first started, there weren't a lot of books and classes available, certainly not like there are now. And I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have anybody to go to much to say, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do next. So I just had to fumble my way through it, and I made a lot of mistakes. And those mistakes sometimes were financially costly, losing a lot of hives or losing, a lot of packages, installing them too early, losing bees in the winter because I didn't know how to prepare the bees for winter, all of that. It just took me a lot of years to understand that. And it's frustrating because, they're bees. It's not like you buy an inanimate object and all at once, let's say you bought an expensive, coffee cup or a china cup or something that's beautiful, and you drop it and you break it. Okay, you're out $50 or however much it costs, you get over it. But something about a living organism, like a pet, like your bees have become, important to you because they're living and you don't want them to die, certainly not under your watch. And so you're a little more easily freaked out and worried about something that's alive. It's like a pet. I get that. I totally understand that. And so this is going to sound like it's redundant, but I cannot stress enough of how important it is that we are well educated before we start beekeeping. It is not as easy as it looks. There are a ton of challenges. It's very challenging to keep bees. Now, it's fun, it is a hoot, and it is enjoyable. But if you're the kind of person that can't take a loss, if you're the kind of person that is going to be really worried about your bees the entire winter, then you're the kind of person that really needs to do a lot of training, take a lot of education before you jump into beekeeping, or else you're just kind of guessing your way through it, and you're gonna have some mishaps along the way that could have easily been avoided. Now, I mentor about 200 people around the US, and it's in a program called Bee Team 6 that I created, and these people can call me or email me anytime they want to on my cell phone. They can email me personally, because I don't answer my own email. My staff answers my email, and they decide what emails should come to me. That's how it normally works. But for my mentorship program, these B Team 6 members actually can call my personal cell phone, and I'm the one that answers and says, hello, what's the problem? And it has been very helpful. I've ran it for several years now, and people have really enjoyed having somebody on the other end to answer those questions. But that aside, it's difficult to know what to do sometimes. And we don't always like to ask for help either. And that's why it's important that you really become well educated in keeping bees. Now, before you shut down the video thinking, oh no, here he is just telling me I need to get smarter, I need to do more research. You can research stuff all day long. You can research beekeeping all day long. You can watch a million videos, but you're just watching pieces of video. You may watch somebody install a package. You may watch somebody on a video, mark a queen. You may watch somebody harvest honey, right? You may watch another video by another beekeeper. So the way this is kind of complicated is you may watch a beekeeper do an inspection of a commercial hive way out west in commercial pollination yards, or you may watch another individual hobbyist inspect a hive in the deep south of Florida, or you may watch another person inspect a hive way up north in Canada. And you may get all these variations of how to inspect a hive. And you're seeing what's represented on YouTube as a lot of variety of different types of approaches based on where they live and what their operation is made of and how they particularly have to do it based on whether they do it full-time, whether they're a commercial beekeeper or they're a hobbyist doing it in their backyard when they have a spare minute. So you'll get a lot of different opinions by watching all of these kind of, if I can use this word, pot-shoddy videos. And if that's your training is kind of pot-shoddy. It's kind of just a piece of this, a piece of that, a piece of this. So that's not how you learn to drive. That's not how you learn to fly an airplane. That's not how you learn to do surgery. You don't just grab pieces of information from various people with various ideas and then try to sew them all together and be successful. You've got to have a particular start to finish proven beekeeping program that's established to take you from the beginning to the end and cover all the bases in between in steps. Like if you learn this much, you need to learn this much more and this much more. That's how you become a beekeeper. And when you do it that way, you're not worried about your bees in the wintertime because you know exactly what you needed to do to prepare them for winter, and you did it. There's nothing more you can do. I mean, you can still worry and think, okay, you can do everything you want to with your own personal health, and you can still die from an unknown disease or from COVID, unexpectedly just pass out, right? And die. I'm not saying that everything is perfect when you do everything perfect. But with bees, there are so many things we can do, and the majority of mishaps that happen with new beginners could have been avoided. And it's only because they didn't take the time to really invest in a good, solid way of being trained or taught how to keep bees. Now, some people ask me questions because they've taken classes here and there. Back before COVID hit, people were taking classes at their local clubs or their colleges, universities around the country, but they would still ask me questions. And some of these courses I felt like left some of these students wondering, like, did they even talk about that? Now, it could be that they did, and the student just had to go to the bathroom and missed that section, or they weren't paying attention, or they forgot all about it after it was taught. But I have had some students tell me that courses they took never addressed key subjects about beekeeping. And that was really disappointing for me to learn about that. And I'm not being critical of other teachers or other courses, but I'm saying if you can't teach the fundamentals of varroa mite control and how to properly use the chemicals or a chemical-free approach to keep mite levels down, if you don't use that in a training course, that's the #1 reason bees die in the winter. So if you don't give your students hands-on information as to how to prepare for that, how to evaluate it, how to test it, what to do with your test results, what chemical agents or non-chemical approaches to use for the varroa mite, your students are destined to fail because those mites are going to spread viruses that will just weaken the hive so much in the wintertime that cold air and cold temperatures will cause those bees to perish. So there's not just mites. I mean, don't think that mite control is the only thing you need to learn. If you learn that, then bees will be great. That's not true either. You need to learn so many key things about bees before you start. So this video really is geared toward those of you that are scratching your head thinking, I want to start keeping bees. I've watched a few videos, I read a book or two, and my wife and I published a book last year. But the book that we published is a book to help you get motivated to start. It's not a complete book to take you all the way through from start to finish because it would have to be this thick and most people wouldn't make their way through it. It's a primer to help you kind of prime the pump to get you interested in beekeeping. But after that, you really need to focus on some courses that you can take about how to get your bees through the winter, what to do with your bees in the spring. A lot of you hopefully will find your bees doing very well after this cold blast passes, but then you're left with this gigantic hive in the spring and you don't know what to do. It's your first year. Do you split? Are they going to swarm? I got news for you. They will swarm. If it's a nice healthy colony, That is natural reproductive tendencies, instincts, and your bees will swarm. You're going to lose half of them. It's going to make your bees half the size after they swarm, and they won't have a queen after they swarm. They'll be raising their own queen. Therefore, the new queen will be, once she emerges, will be a virgin queen. She's got to go out one time, take a mating flight, fly amongst birds that are hungry to eat bees, dragonflies that love to eat bees. She's got to fly 1.5 miles away to a drone congregation area, mate with 20 or 40 drones, and fly back to her exact hive being mated and be your new queen. 7%, I heard once that 7% of virgin queens don't make it back. They get lost in a thunderstorm, high winds, eaten by a bird, dragonfly, other insects get them, or they just lose their way home, fly into the wrong hive, and the bees will kill her because she's in the wrong hive. So anyway, there's just a lot of things that goes on even in the spring that can happen, that you make it through the winter and you think, oh, everything's gonna be great now. Plenty of hives have problems requeening, getting queens going in the spring. So it's important that, like I said, you have a beginning class and takes you all the way through it. I think here are the things that you need to learn and to know to avoid the common mishaps. Need to take a solid beekeeping beginner's course. A beginner course should tell you about the honeybee anatomy, should tell you the basic parts of a honeybee. It should tell you the anatomy of the hive, of the actual colony, of the group of bees. You need to know the anatomy of the bees, the single organism of the actual colony. How do they work? What are their functions? How do they raise queens? How do they provide food? How do they defend the hive? What are their swarming tendencies? When do they swarm? How often do they swarm? What do I do if they swarm? You need to know the anatomy of the single bee and the anatomy of the colony. Those two things are essential as well. You need to know a really good basic hive anatomy. And I mean the woodenware. I mean, you need to know everything from bottom boards or screen bottom boards better. Do you need to take mite tests off the slide-in boards, sticky boards on the bottom? Are those necessary? Which is better, solid bottom board, screen bottom board? You need to know about the hive components, a deep box, a medium box, a deep brood box, a super, an Illinois super. You need to know about the frames, the wooden frames, plastic frames. You need to know about the foundation. What's the proper way of judging which foundation is going to be best for you? Plastic foundation, all wax foundation. And then you need to know about not just the equipment, but the equipment that you need to operate that hive, like smoker, hive tool, hat and a veil, protective gear, harvesting equipment that you need to purchase, and just add all that together about what is involved with the equipment of operating the bees and the hive and maintaining that colony. You need to know about positioning. Where do I face it? Which direction is going to be best for the winter or for the summer? Do I need to keep them in the shade? Do I need to keep them in the sun? I need to keep them in the shade so they don't overheat, right? You need to keep them in the sun so that you don't have an invasion of small hive beetle. But if you put them in the sun, they might be too hot and the wax might melt. So how do I keep my hive cool on really hot days? And see, these are things, I'm just giving you a kind of a repertoire of all of these things that are important for you to know as a beekeeper before you start keeping bees, or certainly learning as you go along. If you have a plan to start and keep learning, I'm okay with that. That's fine. I get that. Get started, learn along the way. That's not a bad idea. But you need to know other things. Like, what do I do in the summertime? How do I give enough supers to allow my bees to start putting enough honey on board? When do I put a queen excluder on? How do I use a queen excluder? Where do I put it? Do I need a queen excluder? Somebody said it's a honey excluder, that it keeps honey from being brought in through the worker bees because they don't like struggling through those small screens on the queen excluder. So should I use that or not? Tons of questions related just to supering a hive in the spring. How many supers? 1, 3, 5? You know, how many supers frames should I have? Some people say I should have 8 frames of honey super, so they break them out wider. Some people say 10 because you have more cells. You know, it just goes on. I'm just throwing all this at you once just to let you know that there are a lot of things to know about beekeeping. Now, we haven't even touched on the most essential things of beekeeping. How do I evaluate a hive? How do I inspect it? When I inspect, what am I looking for? How do I know how to measure the queen's ability to lay well? How do I judge her brood pattern? Is it spotty? Is it a solid brood pattern? What does that even mean? How do I evaluate that? I could have a bad queen and the whole colony can be gone in 30 to 60 days because my queen just can't lay enough eggs and all the bees die every 30 days. So pretty soon my hive's gone. How do I control the pests and diseases? Varroa mite, small hive beetle infestation, American foul brood, a very contagious disease where your whole hive has to be burned to the ground. European foul brood that attacks the developing brood in the hive and is very contagious as well. Wax moths, just keeping mice out of the hive. And then how do I deal with queens if my hive doesn't replace their queen naturally? Where do I buy a queen? How do I introduce a new queen for them? Because without a queen, they don't have any brood production. They need lots of bees. And then you get into fall where how do I keep my bees building up when the nectar flow starts? I don't know how to feed them. What do I feed them? 1 to 1, 2 to 1? Do I add protein? Do I not add protein? Do I feed them pollen patties or not? Pollen patties seem to attract a lot of small hive beetles. Is that a good idea? Then you get into winter, like, oh my gosh, how do I feed bees in the wintertime? Do I wrap? Do I not wrap? Close the bottom board, leave the bottom board open. I don't know how to feed them. I don't know what to do with the dead bees that are being pushed out of the hive. Is that a good sign? Is that a bad sign? On and on goes the list. These can all be handled if you take a beekeeping course. These are all answered in courses that you take. Now, I understand that it seems overwhelming. And like anything, whether it's the sport of fishing, whether it's an athletic sport, it takes a while to learn all the ins and outs, the rules, the nuances, how to do it. Beekeeping's the same way. So you got to set your mind on starting with the basics and work your way through various classes that can really help you become a good, solid, well-educated, well-knowledgeable beekeeper. Now, we have online courses that you can take from the comfort of your home. You don't have to worry about the COVID-19 pandemic, contagious environment of a lot of people around you that you don't know if they have it, if they're, it's kind of iffy whether or not you can catch it by being in crowds with other people, having to wear a mask and travel. These online classes that we have produced years ago are available. You watch them, me teaching you from the comfort of your home. And it's, you might think, oh, there it is, he's pitching his sales of his classes again. I assure you, I'm not so motivated about sales as I am about helping you really understand beekeeping. Because most of the mistakes I made, you can avoid because I made them. I'm going to tell you how to avoid those mistakes. You can't avoid everything that could happen, but at least gives you enough background information to make a solid approach to beekeeping so that you can be like me right now. I'm not worried about my hives going through winter. If you want me to, we can walk out there now. I can actually lift up my winter bee kind and you can see that my bees made it through 20 below temperatures and heavy snow and all that bad stuff that we had because I knew what I was doing, because I applied what I learned and I applied it to my hives. And my hives aren't going to die in the winter. In fact, let's go out there. Let me just stop what I'm doing here and we're going to go out there and lift up a winter bee kind and I'll show you what the bees are doing right now. All right, well, it's February 17th. We've had our big snows and you can see we've got huge icicles. A few days ago, we were filming why the birds were out here eating up some of these bees that fly out. And you'll see a little bit of that all the time. They'll fly up, get caught in the snow. This is so common. So I'm going to open this winter bee kind up and show you that these bees are going to be up there eating the candy. And you'll be able to see that the cold weather did not affect them at all. You see them hanging there eating. Are you convinced? Pretty cool, isn't it? See the winter cluster moving? The top of it? All right. All right, so we're back and you saw what the hive is doing. So I don't have to worry about it. I know how to feed them. I know that I did the right things in the fall to help them make a lot of bees of winter physiology, which is another method that I teach. Bees of winter physiology live 4 to 6 months instead of a summer bee that only lives about 30 to 40 days. So I know I have plenty of food with the winter bee kind on there. I'll keep monitoring that to make sure they have plenty of resources. And I know my mite levels were low. I monitored those all year long. I did the right things. That's a hive that's not even wrapped. And it went through that horrendous cold snap that we had here in the plains where it's windy in central Illinois. Anyway, my point is, I'm not worried about it. I'm not freaking out. It's okay. I know that I did the right things because I applied my education, my knowledge to the bees. And they're going to be fine because I know how to manage the bees, and I teach all of these things. Now, look, I'm going to make, last year in 2020, the horrible year of 2020, we'll never forget 2020, we started offering our courses, our online beekeeping courses, at 50% off somewhere around March or April, I can't remember. But we held them there for several months in order to help beekeepers who were planning on taking on-site classes at their clubs or at universities, colleges, and it was all canceled because of social distancing. People were not able to take courses. To help with that, we offered our courses at 50% off. And that's a chunk. That's a lot because we only make our living off of bees, off of our classes and things that we do for the beekeeping community. And so we need to make a living. And so it took a little bit of bite out of the income of offering those 50% off, but it was the right thing to do. We felt it was a good and right thing to do. Well, the pandemic really isn't up much better this time around. And so we feel like that beekeepers are having a hard time finding the right places to go, and impossible in many cases to take classes at clubs or colleges, universities, as it was before COVID. And so what we've decided to do, once again, is we are going to start offering these courses at 50% off. All the courses will be offered 50% off. We're going to start on February the 18th, 2021. So I realize that this video is seen by a lot of you as soon as it comes out. Others may watch this 5 years in the future. I know, but I'm just time stamping it a little bit for those that may watch it in the next few days. We decided on February the 18th, 2021, going to go 50% on the beekeeping online courses, and we're going to run it through the start of the beekeeping season that we feel is February, March, and April. So all the way until April the 18th, we're going to offer 50% off of these courses. We hope this is our way of letting you know that it's important to us that you can be educated, that you can have the knowledge. You can experience what I've experienced. You can tap into my knowledge, and you can apply these things to your bees. I'm an EAS Certified Master Beekeeper by the Eastern Apicultural Society of North America that originated in Cornell University with Roger Morse, a well-known beekeeper, entomologist, and that continues to this day. And so you're getting good information. And I'm proud of what I've done over the years to gain a lot of information to share with you. I'm not just giving you folklore. I'm not just giving you my thoughts or my ideas. We're looking at real good scientific facts that helps you really know how to keep your bees through the winter, how to grow them in the summer, and so forth. So anyway, I hope that'll be helpful to you. And some of you have taken all my courses, and I appreciate that. And if you don't have any more that you can take, do consider being a part of my mentoring program, my beekeeping coaching program. For less than $5 a week, you can be on the other end of my cell phone, send me an email personally, and ask me for advice about what's happening with your bees and if this is right or wrong, what's the next step, and so forth. So consider Bee Team 6. I'll leave links to my classes and my mentorship program in the description down below. Okay, so be sure to click on the subscribe button down below and the bell as well, so you'll be notified each time I make a new video. I really do appreciate you subscribing to this beekeeping channel. And by all means, please be safe, please stay warm, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.